Hello, and welcome to Climate Agents, Agents of Change. I'm Karen Jeffers Tracy, and this is a podcast talking to a variety of people about climate change, what they think about it, why they think that, and just encouraging more people to have conversations about climate. So today we have with us Dr. Naila Khalil from Wright State University, and she is going to introduce herself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Karen Jeffers Tracy. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I have been at Wright State for almost 15 years now, first as a postdoc and then as a faculty member. I teach environmental health and then developed interest in climate change and health a few years later.
So what I usually just begin is, oh, and also I guess we should mention we present sometimes together.
Yes, that's a wonderful opportunity for us to collaborate and bring our different backgrounds and experiences together with Mr. Jeffers Tracy's experience with En-ROADS, which is a climate model, and me working in public health. We try to present this as a practical application and as an interactive role-playing game for the students. It really is received well by the students because it's very engaging.
Mhm. And I think, and we both attended a climate reality training, and we do use some of those slides as well because they're very informative. They help people understand the urgency and the seriousness of the situation.
Yes, I think that was, we didn't know it at that point that in 2017 when we were undertaking this training, our paths would cross again, and we didn't know each other that we were both from Dayton. So we were working in our own different spheres, but struggling along to learn about climate change and then try to educate people around us, our family members, our friends, and then I tried to develop a course based on climate change and health, and then I was trying to reach out to different people who were knowledgeable about this aspect of field of public health, and I came across Karen, who was located in Dayton, and we started working together. It has been almost 3+ years that we have been together in terms of collaborating on teaching and attending different trainings, and now we are trying to develop some messages out for general public as well. So very excited about it.
Me too. It's been a good collaboration because you help keep me organized. So I'm good at rolling with whatever happens and improvising, but you're good at organizing it and making sure the students learn what they're supposed to learn from it.
Yeah. Yes, I think you are very much invested, more invested in terms of obtaining new knowledge, getting some more trainings, which are very helpful in terms of me imbibing that information from you and trying to present it to our students. And I was speaking to one of my co-faculty, and they were looking at some of the course content, and En-ROADS, which you and I have been offering to the students, was ranked as one of the top attraction for the course, and students really feel very excited about that aspect of the course. They are given an opportunity to apply what they are learning in that course, and I believe that as we grow this course with your collaboration and your background in learning new techniques and games and all those engaging aspects of how to reach out to more people, we will be able to develop some more interesting aspect of this course and keep adding to it.
Yes, through ISAGA, the International Simulation Gaming Association, I'm learning some new games to bring to it too.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and since you have a background in library science and have a lot of public interaction, there is opportunity for you to be not only involved with Wright State students who are in public health, but also to general public as well from that forum.
Yes, and I do hear a lot of things that the general public says about climate. Um, in fact, just the other day, I was on my way to do this podcast, and I was in line behind a gentleman who was talking about the weather and how cold it was, and then he turns to me and he says, and they say there's climate change. He said, I think we need more climate change.
Yeah.
He said, I would like to have just a little bit of snow at Christmas time, and then I'm done with it.
So, yes, I see. Climate is a very complex phenomena. I think when you read about the climate models, they say that the code which is written to generate these climate models, taking different scientific aspect of how complex climate change is, it's no doubt that people generally do not realize that we as humans have been impacting it in so many different ways without realizing that what we are doing to the climate is in turn going to impact us and our own well-being and health.
Yeah. And it is already impacting people around the world too. Just gonna move that a little bit. And as you've seen from the flooding and different things that have impacted people that you even know, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I have been very interested in. Basically, I was born and raised in Pakistan and moved to United States about 20 years ago, and we had flooding in Pakistan, which caused above $20 billion of losses. Thousands of people lost their lives and have been exposed to famine, diseases, and have lost their households, their livelihood. Standing crops have been flooded. So that is not only limited to one region of the world, that was replicated elsewhere in Southeast Asia, which seems to be the ground zero for a lot of climate change happening. Iran and Middle East, India, Bangladesh, these regions have had their weather cycle disturbed. The monsoon cycle has been disturbed, and that has impacted how they grow their crops, how they have their livelihoods, and how they have their income resource, and it's impacting the food and the nutrition of those population, as well as their water, access to water for drinking purposes and for raising their livestock and raising their crops. So we are not in any way disconnected from the environment or the climate, which is changing very rapidly around us. We just need to focus and pay a little bit attention to what's happening around us, and we can see that the normal weather patterns are changing, and they are no more there as they used to be about 3-4 decades ago.
How do we communicate to them? Americans seem to be more insulated. They aren't as aware of news from around the world as maybe other countries. My friends in Europe, for instance. And I think they sometimes, their attitude is, oh, it always floods there, or they have monsoons and they're used to it. I mean, they've never, they don't, so how do we let them know, like, how much worse is it now? Is it different? How different is it than it should be?
I think we used to have this thought that United States and North America is probably immune from all these climate effects, and even in terms of effects in Europe, a few years ago we would not be hearing news about Europe being impacted by climate change, but for the past 6 or 7 years, we have heard news that the weather is changing very rapidly because the jet stream, which used to bring warmer temperature or colder temperature cycles to the North Atlantic region and then impacted climate of Northern Europe, that has been changing, and it has led to drought in several parts of Europe. Germany has been experiencing drought and rivers going dry, and their economy has been affected. And they say that Europe has been experiencing climate change and is warming up 4 times faster than the rest of the world. And same has been happening in United States. There are parts of United States like California and Western Seaboard that have experienced huge changes and fluctuations from droughts to wet seasons, heavy downpour of rain followed by droughts again. And we have seen that in the eastern part of United States, eastern seaboard, where the billion-dollar weather events have multiplied, and they are increasing in intensity and frequency that we did not used to observe earlier on. So we cannot say that we are immune. We just have to pay a little bit attention. It's impacting United States as well, and I think I have been in United States and Ohio for almost 15 plus year. At least in Ohio I have been for more than 15 years. And last summer it was the first time that I noted that the air quality in Ohio was what it was. Everybody probably registered that we were being exposed to air pollutants and haze, which was
fires?
fires from
In
Canada.
Canada?
Yes, we never had that. So that is something which is slowly and gradually crawling upon us, and we are observing that no part of the world is now immune from the global climate change.
Mm-hmm. I still would like
Mhm.
people around me to be more aware of how our actions impact other parts of the world. How it's for me, it's an issue of compassion and caring about humanity as a whole.
Right.
I what can I say? It's like my parents' generation were more, they would say, oh, there's always been poor people in the world. There's always we can only do so much, or something like that.
Yes.
Not my parents in general. They were very active in social causes, but their generation tended to say things like that we couldn't help it, that it was just happening, and we couldn't, go around our lives feeling so concerned about all the suffering in other parts of the world. But now we're seeing we're causing that suffering.
Right. Yes.
It's our responsibility. Like, we have been causing that suffering from the time I was a child.
Yes. So we have heard this that about 300, 400 years ago, when the world political system was based on colonialism, the more developed countries from Europe or other parts of the world were trying to colonize less developed parts of the world, and all the economic productivity of those less developed country was taken and utilized elsewhere, which was not their own. So we are seeing the impact that the more developed countries are heavy consumers of the earth's goods in terms of having access to greater for example, they have access to electricity, they have access to better lifestyle, they have grown economically, which is much faster than the less developed part of the world, and they are consuming more resources of the world, and so indirectly they are releasing more greenhouse gases, which is leading to the global climate change. And since they are the largest emitter, more developed countries are the largest emitter of the greenhouse gases, so indirectly they are one of the reasons this global climate change is happening. And since less developed countries and less developed countries which are specifically island nations or have sea or coastal regions exposed. They are the ones who are being exposed to all these weather impacts. They are facing more flooding. Some of the island nations have already started migrating from their traditional lands where they have lived for millennia, and they have to find other land.
And their whole way of life.
Life
They
is
were,
changing.
They were
Yes.
island people, got their nutrition from the sea,
Yeah.
and their whole communities are being.
Right.
They have to change everything to move
Yes,
from that.
yes. So the change is all across us, all around us, and we just need to pay a little attention and see that we need to start making small changes in our lifestyle, so we could become less consumer of things, and maybe try to limit what we in terms of how much we travel or carpool or buy less maybe, and then maybe allow the other people who have less resources to be able to partake in these resources that are being generated on a limited amount of land and a limited air quality that we have. So the more we pollute this air, the more of us probably will be breathing in more polluted air. For example, if we are driving more, the greenhouse gases, they lead to volatile organic compounds, more release of particulate matter which are less than 2.5 micron meter, and so there is higher incidence of asthma if you burn more greenhouse gases by driving more. So
let me just summarize that. So the emissions that come out of our cars, our gas cars,
yes,
are a certain size, which are particulate matters that are particularly harmful to the human lungs.
Right. Yes.
So that is causing a health consequence
right.
from driving, and then we know that reducing the use of fossil fuels in our gas tanks, and especially in cities where there's when they change the public transit.
Yes, these particulate matter, which ranges from more than 10 micron meters in aerodynamic size to less than 0.1 micron meter, they are so tiny where they are 1/70th the size of the diameter of a human hair. So they not only are absorbed into our lungs but can directly cross the membranes lining our lungs into the bloodstream, and they can lead to stroke and increase the coagulability of the blood. They can also lead to carcinogenic effect on the lung tissue itself, but can also lead to cardiovascular or cardio metabolic effects within the human body if it is an individual, or maybe to unborn children if it's a mother who is breathing this air. So the air that we are breathing, we can think of it as one of the system which is directly impacting our health, not only for adults but for unborn children as well. So the more we pollute, the more we have industrial emissions, or more we drive and have car emissions, or the miles travels, the more polluted the air becomes, because we have a limited amount of the air that the trees can generate as they are photosynthesizing and they are producing oxygen, and there is a amount or a limitation to what the carbon dioxide that can be absorbed by the seas or the oceans, or the plants can take them in and then convert them again into oxygen.
So this is so much. So there's a certain limit to the amount that the trees can clean the air for us, and take in carbon dioxide and put out oxygen for us.
Right.
And there's a limited amount of saturation of the ocean. Is that what we say?
Yes.
That can absorb carbon dioxide and that also makes it more acidic, right?
Right. So what we know of it is that the oceans have been absorbing this excess of carbon dioxide over the past many decades, and they have been, taking the brunt of this excess carbon dioxide that we have been releasing since the industrial age.
Nature is trying to help us.
Yes.
Has been trying to help us.
Right.
But she's reaching her limits.
Yes. And now they have reached their limit. Almost 90% of the carbon dioxide has been, or the global warming, the as air is warming up around us because of these greenhouse gases, the oceans have been absorbing that warmth, and also the carbon dioxide that has been released in excess, which used to be the norm before industrialization. And also there has been a limit. The Amazon forest, for example, they are considered the lungs of the earth, and now we are seeing that they are changing from that potential lungs of the earth who used to that used to absorb the excess carbon dioxide and emit it as oxygen that would help us in our keeping our weather cycles. Now we have felled so many trees in Amazon that they are now becoming generators of carbon dioxide, and we have almost reached that tipping point that Amazon is changing its role from being a productive resource to a detriment to our climate.
The Amazon is almost changing its role from it being the lungs of the earth to adding to becoming a driver of climate change.
Right.
That is incredibly scary.
Yes, but there has been good news recently. They have said that because of political changes which have been happening in South America, the leadership has changed, and there has been a drastic change in terms of the deforestation that had been going, a rampant deforestation that had been going on in Amazon, and the political will is there now because of the concerted effort of everybody, and they have been able to curtail that deforestation to a significant extent. So we are making dents here and there in terms of our collective efforts, but we need to do more.
Yes, because the latest conference of parties didn't actually. I mean, it did have some progress, but it doesn't look like the kind of action that we need as far as speed and scale,
right,
for to meet the seriousness, the severity of this crisis.
Yes. I was listening to a discussion yesterday, and they were saying that we are gathering momentum as compared to the last conference of the party that was held in Egypt, Sharm el Sheikh last year. This one that was held in Dubai, we had double the number of participants. It was more than 120,000 people, and Sharm el Sheikh had 58,000 or so individuals. So we are gathering some speed and momentum, and this was the first year the conference of the party was able to start the process of limiting the fossil fuel consumption in the world that had been on the table and had never been addressed or seriously discussed for the past 30 years or so, since we have been holding these conference of the party negotiation every year. So we are hopeful that this dialogue is going to be gathering some momentum and some fuel as we go forward.
And I would say the only reason that happened, that progress happened, was really the effects of citizens, of just regular people,
yes,
waking up and saying, we're not, and really calling them out for their past failures.
Yes. I think that's a good sign for us that people are now thinking about what's happening around them, and they are trying to pitch in. And I recall that during one of the trainings that you and I attended, we were told that climate change need to be addressed at the grassroots levels. We do not have to wait until change comes from the top. We have to engage people who are around us and spread the message to our family, our friends, and then they are the ones who are going to make a change. So we need to reach out to people around us, like uh, whom we interact on a day-to-day basis. So wherever we are, we can just mention quietly about climate change and start the conversation.
Mm-hmm. I think people are afraid that they don't know enough, and they're afraid if they mention climate change that someone will, ask them a question they can't answer, or challenge them in such a way that they don't know how to respond. So, I tell people about skepticalscience.com, which has an answer to almost all the arguments, verified, authoritative sources of the answers. But I don't know if how else we need to encourage people to go ahead and have these discussions, whether they know the answers or not. We need to, talk about this serious issue that's happening to our planet.
Right, and I recall that you had developed a small course that you were planning to offer through your library platform, and that was to educate general public. So I think that's an excellent effort, and would have a huge dividend, because we need to offer information as well as knowledge base to our community members, that climate is something which is a very delicate balance between what we are producing in terms of our day-to-day activities, how we run our industries, and how we travel and trade and do our daily business. So we are impacting the weather systems and climate around us, and if we can understand how climate works, and our day-to-day small changes can bring about a change, that is helpful. We just need to educate more people, and maybe developing a short course like you did is one step forward. And my effort in terms of offering this course at Wright State to the public health student was also based on realizing that our environmental health, wherever we turn, we are faced with changing public health issues. For example, incidence of asthma is increasing. Vector-borne diseases such as malaria and dengue are becoming epidemic proportions around the world. And so, for example, a part of Europe that used to have cooler climates, for example, Portugal or Italy, or a certain part of Spain and France, they never had dengue as a disease, a vector-borne disease.
They're
which
getting
is
that there now?
yes.
Oh my goodness.
So because of the changing weather pattern and changing rainfall pattern, the mosquitoes have been able to flourish in higher altitude, and have expanded their range. So those areas are experiencing higher incidence of these diseases, which were unheard of a few decades ago. So wherever we turn, we see that the disease patterns are changing, and the quality of the water that people used to have free access to. For example, we know that part of United States, for example, western part of United States has been experiencing drought, and Texas has experienced drought, and the water quality is declining.
I've seen pictures of the Rio Grande
Mhm.
and how
Yes.
it's the river is
Yes.
has gone way, way, way down.
Yes. So that is all tied up to how much water falls on the earth as either snow or rainfall. If the climate is cooler, then it falls as snow or ice, but then if it warms up, then it falls as rainfall. I recall that about 10-12 years ago in Ohio, we used to see snow every few days, and then my children would have snow days, about 4 or 5 snow days every winter. But for the the past 2 to 3 years, I haven't had, I haven't seen any snow day in Ohio, especially in Dayton. And this year, we saw we had polar vortex, which is another impact of climate change. We have seen that the atmospheric rivers in the upper atmosphere, they are disrupting, and that's why it is leading to polar vortex, which used to be only limited to the northern North Pole. Now it's able to break in and not only run through the atmosphere of Canada, but reach as far south as United States, Texas, and Gulf of Mexico.
So yes,
Yes.
it's not as smooth around the North
Right,
Pole, so it's
yes.
coming down and impacting
Yes.
other areas.
Yes. So yes. We just need to tie in these conversations wherever we are, and on the surface, it would appear that we are experience as severe winter as we used to observe, and nothing is happening. But if you read about it a little bit in more in depth, then it's alarming and concerning that. Well, this polar vortex was not the kind of snow we used to get. The sudden change in dipping temperature, -40 degrees, that we are experiencing now, is an anomaly that has been brought in due to climate change.
Well, I grew up in Ohio, and we used to have snow that would last. It would land and then it would stay for a couple weeks. Just but now we have snow and it usually melts in 2 to 5 days. It's gone again.
Yes.
I haven't seen really a snow that comes and stays through the winter at all anymore.
Yes. And we have been, observing these changes in terms of our economic productivity as well. Mississippi River has been having less and less water in its channel, and we have seen that the shipping channel that it used to provide up and down the eastern Midwest has been impacted because of, and then we have also heard that seawater, which is saline water, salty water, has been coming inland further and further, a few yards or feet on a daily basis, because the acreage of fresh water or the river water that we used to get from all the tributaries is no more there. That volume has been declining. Sorry about that.
As the storm surges come up the coast, up or further inland, they can affect the aquifers or the drinking water supplies, and really pollute those with saline.
Yes.
So that limits the amount of fresh water that people have then.
Right. Yeah, and the saline water also impacts the fresh water that is available for growing crops, the fishing industry. There are fish which only grow in salty water, and there are fish and other wildlife that grow in river water. Or yes.
And think about all these things you just bring up so many different aspects of this. Wow. And how it's all interconnected. You have such a vision of all these different aspects of it coming together.
Yeah.
I think your students are lucky to have you as a teacher.
Yes, I think it's very interesting. It's something that is around us and impacts us every minute, every day, and the way we interact with this world, the way we breathe air, we feel the sun shining on our skin. So we cannot run away from the climate and the weather which is around us.
when things interact together.
Yes. So the system dynamics is that all these system, for example, the economy, the transport, the public health, they are all interlinked. So if our productivity, which is running our economy, is impacted, then the general nutrition and health of the public suffers. So one system does not run in isolation with the other system. So if we increase the socioeconomic status of the population, their health improves because they have access to more healthcare providers. They have access to better food, better nutrition, better water quality, and so they enjoy better health. And likewise, if their water quality suffers, if they have less water, and they have less nutritious food, which is what is happening in some parts of the world, where because of excess carbon dioxide in the air, the plants are able to grow faster because carbon dioxide promotes plant growth, but they are deficient in nutrients such as magnesium and iron, and people suffer from malnutrition because of deficiency of not obtaining these
Wow, so
essential
they're
elements.
eating the food, but it's not as nutritious.
Nutritious, yes.
And the plants can leaf out more,
Yes.
but they aren't producing the actual food that we eat out of the
Right.
plants.
Yes. So
Yeah.
so one system, if it is knocked out of its usual optimal level, that impacts the other system and brings about a kind of a downward spiral to the other systems as well.
And when you're talking about impacts like that in public health and just the impacts on people, I keep thinking we count on the future. We count on these children to be part of the solution in the future. We need their minds, we need their innovation, we need them to be well educated so that they can contribute and come up with some scientific solutions for us, because our job is to stop fossil fuel use, but then they're going to need to figure out ways to scrub this out of the atmosphere or something. They're going to have to find ways to accelerate the cleaning of our atmosphere so it can be restored to work normally. But every time a family's burned out in California, or a family is flooded out in Pakistan, or they're losing that opportunity.
Right.
Or when people are killed by these by climate impacts, we're losing those brilliance of their minds that could help humanity.
Yes.
So we're losing the resources that we need to solve this.
Yes.
The longer we wait, or the more delay we have.
Yeah, I think that is the same model that has been discussed in terms of prevention is better than cure. So if we invest $1 in terms of prevention, for example, building a dam to prevent flooding, is a better investment than after the fact that the part of the a town has been flooded, and then you do some remedial cleanup effort. So it's better to build a bank or a dam beforehand by investing a little money and then prevent that damage from occurring in the first place. So what Europe has done is, for example, Dutch model is that they have created land out of sea by building all these dikes and dams, and they have been sharing this thought that United States can also prevent these billion-dollar weather events, hurricanes and floods and so on and so forth. For example, Hurricane Sandy was a major climate-related event that happened here in United States, and there have we had proposed building a seawall or building dikes in New York City so that the sea level rise can be prevented. So this same model is occurring and reoccurring all along the eastern seaboard and western seaboard. So we can build or invest in preventive efforts versus waiting for things to happen and then doing cleanup efforts later on.
But also mitigation efforts. I mean, as far as I understand. Yeah, I just don't want. There has to be a balance between pulling money into things like building seawalls versus putting money into coming up with alternatives to fossil
Yes.
fuels, which are the cause in the
Yes,
first place.
yes. Probably that is more in terms of investing your dollars in terms of making your buildings more efficient, so that you don't release as much greenhouse gases, and have an efficient transport system. Invest in electric vehicles and transport system in the cities, and make them more walkable, and not release the greenhouse gases in the first place. Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, it's been so interesting to hear you, and I can tell that your class covers a very wide range and shows the um, systems dynamics, the way that different systems interact together,
Right.
and the way the solutions
Mhm.
are more than one.
Yes.
The solutions must be
Hmm.
kind of in many different fields.
Yes, and one other aspect that we also cover in our course, and just to, some parting thoughts for this very interesting conversation are that climate migration issue has been something which has been happening around the globe now. We have seen that happen in Africa and Asia, that populations have been moving because they have lost their livelihood, the crops have been destroyed, or there is no more water for their um, uh, for them to either raise crops, or for them to drink, or for their livestock to drink. So they have been moving from one country to another, or from one continent to, for example, people from Africa have been crossing over to Europe, where to find a safe haven for them, or a better chance of life there. So we have seen a surge of mental health impacts, not only in those parts of the world where they have been forced to migrate, but also some mental health issues where people are not able to adjust to the new environments and the new opportunities that they have. They are unable to adjust back to where they started off, and we have seen that here in United States, where we have seen migration from South America, some countries in Central America and South America, they have suffered huge impacts in their crop failures, and their population have been desperately trying to find opportunities elsewhere. For example, they have been there has been influx of migrants to United States. So we see those populations moving, and they have their public health impact, where they are suffering from malnutrition or less longevity. They tend to lose their foothold in terms of having a established life, having a roof over their head, and also mental health impact that stay with them for their life. So and that has been happening in United States as well. We have seen population moving from California who have suffered from fires, so once you are uprooted, and this happened when we had Gulf Coast flooded in 2004 and so on. And those people have been displaced, and they have not been able to go back and start their life from scratch as they used to be. So there are lifelong mental health impacts as well. So climate migration and mental health impacts are what we discuss in our public health course as well, which is part of the systems that not only the physical health but mental health, as well as your social fabric of your population is disrupted.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we all say we want a peaceful world. We all say we want a world where there aren't suffering people and there aren't hungry children.
Mhm.
And yet, climate change is creating incredible trauma
Mhm.
and mental health effects, of course, from that great trauma that they're
Yeah.
going through.
Yes. Yeah.
And uprooting and losing their community, being separated from their families or losing family members. It's really a huge amount of suffering that climate change is imposing
Yes.
on,
Mhm.
and even if Americans aren't that aware of news from other parts of the world, I think we're all aware that we're kind of just all aware that there's suffering going on.
Yes.
And just wouldn't it be great to be able to be in a world where where there weren't hungry children,
Yes.
and there weren't people suffering from this. You know, that
Yeah.
a world where it was on track to solve this, where
Yeah.
everyone was coming together, saying, "All hands on deck, all resources focused. Let's focus on this because it's the mm, it's the container that
Mhm.
holds everything else that
Yes.
we care about."
Yes, yes. I think we tend to think about our future and future security for our children and grandchildren. And American Psychological Association had come up with this term in climate anxiety for some individuals who are thinking about the future and uncertainty that is tied up with the climate change, and they worry about it, that what's going to happen to our children and our grandkids if this planet is not on its way to its optimal kind of environment that we used to observe. And so I also had heard that people are rethinking about having children because they are worried that if we have our offspring, are they going to survive in a world that is going to be less than optimal for their the kids.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know what to say when young people ask me about that. Because I personally say, have the babies, go ahead, have the babies, because we're going to need those children. Those children are going to be part of the solution. I know that, but they don't want to have them
Mhm.
suffer. They don't want to have them, they don't know what kind of world they're bringing them into.
Yes,
And I
yes.
understand that concern.
Mhm.
But to me, that we can't stop working toward a better future, and part of working toward a better future is bringing up a generation that can also contribute to that,
Yes.
to hopefully reversal of some of the damage that we've done to the ecosystem.
Yes, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah. So all hands on deck.
Yes. Hands on deck. Let's see. So this has been a marvelous conversation covering so much. I really want to thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for your wealth of information that you've offered us. A lot to think about. And how would people take your course? Is it a regular level course or graduate level course? And what department do they have to be in or something to take it?
It's an undergraduate course, and it is one of the core courses at Wright State. So all students who are entering Wright State University, they would have to either take one of the core courses, which is climate change and health, or another core course that they can pick and choose two courses. So this course, climate change and health, is considered a core course that they need to undertake, and so so all students can either take this course or a couple of other core courses. There is a variety, but some students who are interested in this aspect of social sciences, they gravitate towards it. So it attracts those students who already have some science background, or they have an interest in this field. So we see nursing student, we have engineering students who are in drama and theater, and who are part of some other disciplines in the university. So we have a mix. So we take students from all different schools and colleges.
So not
at
just sciences, but also liberal arts.
liberal arts and
Okay.
yeah, social sciences, and so there is a huge spectrum of student interests. So based on their own inclination, they register for this course. And we have seen that since the course is very a foundational level course, we gradually take them through explaining the science, the physics, and a little bit of chemistry, how the atmosphere is, or what are the chemical components of the atmosphere, what are the physics behind how green gases envelop this planet, and how radiation is trapped and makes this planet such a beautiful place for life to exist, which is very unique. We have, with all our planetary science and know-how, we have yet to find out if there is another planet like this in the universe, in this huge universe. So this is, this blue marble, or this marvelous place that we call our home, that's planet Earth, is unique, and we need to really savor it and price this, and really take care of it. So we take the students through all these different foundational uh, chapters, where they learn about public health definitions and how diseases and population are categorized, and then we tie it up with different aspects of public health. For example, how climate change impacts air quality and lead to lung diseases, and how nutrition, water quality, climate migration, and global agencies are working towards or putting in effort towards preventing or mitigating climate change. So it's a whole spectrum of different chapters that this textbook covers, and they have different assignments during the course, and part of the assignment is En-ROADS model, which they really like, and so
Well, I'm very proud of Wright State University for making this a core concept, because to me these are the key concepts of climate science that everyone needs to know, and that I think no one should graduate any college in any discipline without knowing the basic physics of our planet and how it works. Because
mhm.
it would make a difference in their later, whatever their field is.
Yes.
If they're an engineer, if they're a developer, if they're any kind of representative, elected official, whatever they end up to be, a lawyer, whatever, if they understand what's happening and really get it, that's going to affect the way they do their job and the decisions they make and the votes they cast.
Yes, of course. I think that's a very apt observation. We have been reading comments from the students, or heard it from the students, that I didn't know that this information was there, or I didn't realize that this is the fact about climate change, or this is how it is linked to public health. I wish I knew, or it was taught at school level. So, so that is something we have been hearing off and on during our student course offering over the years. It has been 5 years that we have seen, and slowly the course has been growing, and we are seeing a wider variety of students who are taking this course. And so I think it might be a good opportunity to offer this course or similar course at more foundational level in high school or middle school, where they are exposed to climate science, and the students are prepared while they are progressing through the school years, and they can start thinking about it, and then maybe as they grow into young adults, they can implement some of these changes, and likewise change their behavior, how they interact in this world.
Yes, because when I talk to adults
Mhm.
and just regular people, which is what a lot of times you're an expert, but a lot of times I just talk to regular people about climate, and they kind of feel sheepish, like they feel like they should know these things, but they don't, and they sort of have a general foggy idea, but they don't know specifics. They don't know answers to challenges and things, because they don't know the science of it. They don't know these key concepts that you're teaching.
Yeah.
Or how things interrelate.
Yes.
So, but I say, why should they know it? They weren't taught it, and you can't get it from the media. From the media, you just get little sound bites that just shock you.
Yes.
It doesn't really educate you.
Right. Yeah. I
So-
think even about 15 years ago, you would hardly read about climate change in the general media as well. The newspapers or the television content would hardly ever mention it. But now it's discussed on a daily basis. It's there in your weather report or the air quality report that you see on your cell phone, that it's right there. If you just need to, pay attention to it, you cannot run away from it. It's right there. Mm.
Yeah, it is, but I think the education part still needs to be done because you can't learn in depth or really to a deep level of understanding, I don't think, without with just from the media.
Yes, yes.
Just from what the media is throwing at us. They're basically just scaring us. But so thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy that you were here. I'm so glad that you shared your wisdom and knowledge with us. And is there anything else that you'd like to say at the end? I think you summarized pretty well everything.
I appreciate the opportunity. It has been wonderful collaborating with you, and we are doing our own effort in our small ways and combined ways to bring about some change. And I think we will continue doing that, and maybe find different opportunities in future to work together and maybe engage a wider audience through this effort on television as well. So I am always eager to learn from you and share this information at my workplace, which is Wright State University. So thank you once again for this opportunity to come and speak with your audience and share some thoughts. It has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Khalil. And thank you for listening to Climate Agents, Agents of Change.